Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Just Two Brothers podcast, where we will be sharing our journey so far and some of the simple tactics we've learned that have helped us become great leaders. Hello again, everybody. We're back with more of our recap for you this week. We wanted to highlight some of the content from our past episodes and have part 2 for you today. Last week, we had quotes from episodes 2, 3, and 4. This week, we have episodes 5, 8, and 9 for you. One of them was requested by a listener, and we were happy to include that as well. Thank you all for your support. We greatly appreciate it. We recently hit 500 downloads and are excited to keep this journey going with you. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. We are at J2B Podcast, or on Instagram and Facebook. We are Just Two Brothers Podcast. Let us know your favorite quote. On to the episode. This first clip is from episode 5, Resolving Conflict in the Workplace. In it, we discuss how to handle a conflict with two team members at work. We break down top reasons for the conflicts and share our thoughts on the most effective ways to control the situation and therefore the outcome. Here it is. Two team members reporting to you are having a disagreement. How do you handle it? Have you had to deal with it?
I haven't had to deal with that. I've had conflicts with other people plenty of times, and and I can't even say people have really dealt with the situation between me and other coworkers. It was either I blew up and said my piece, and we got separated for reasons that it wasn't going to work out between just splitting team members up. That's been pretty much the solution that's been used. Anytime that I've been in a conflict with other people, it has never been nobody's ever tried to resolve the situation. It was just separating the people.
Never any attempt at resolution.
I can't say there's...
Wow.
There might have been, but I can't recall any situation where it's actually sit down and talk about, like, what is the actual issue? Let's find out how to resolve this.
Wow. I can't say I'm excellent at it. I think I do a decent job of handling conflict, but for people to not even attempt it, that's pretty poor.
When maybe an attempt was made after the blow up happened. Because I used to have a short fuse. I'd go off on people, and there were several times where I've been talked to several times at work about getting in people's faces and yelling at them and everything like that. But yeah, usually that's what sparked change. That's what actually initiated how do we fix this and keep this from happening again. Which is unfortunate, but... So I'm curious to hear how you approach that situation.
I first try to take each one individually and listen to their story. That's where I start. It may get to the point later on where, yes, you do have to just separate them, but attempts should be made to at least try to understand the situation, the issue.
What caused it.
And correct it. Because, like we've said, it's typically a breakdown or a miscommunication of some kind. So I will take each one individually and listen to their side of the story. From there, I try to see, okay, what are the similarities? What are the differences? Because that's where you figure out what the miscommunication was.
Right.
Somebody's most likely just not understanding the way, at least when the most common issue I've seen on the shop floor is when two team members one's trying to explain something to the other one and one's not understanding. And one might not be doing a good enough job of explaining it and they think they are, but you just have to bridge that gap. So the majority of the time when I've had that issue, it's just because somebody doesn't understand the way somebody is explaining something. One person's getting frustrated because they don't understand. The other person's getting frustrated because they're not understanding. But the person who is explaining it then needs to be told, look, just because you understand it broken down this way does not mean they are. You need to find another way to explain it to them so they can understand it. You can't just sit here and throw a fit that they're not understanding the way you're doing it.
You're beating a dead horse. You're saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Without
just because you're repeating it and repeating it louder does not mean that person is going to understand it any better.
Right.
Now you're just yelling at them.
Exactly. And that never gets anybody in any better of a mood.
So that's the most common issue I've seen and had to deal with between two people. And yeah, it's just understanding where the breakdown is, and your part as a leader in that situation is to provide an extra example. Hey, maybe try explaining it to them like this, or even just taking the situation over and saying, hey, let me show you how I would handle this, and take the other person over, and maybe you show them how to do whatever it is, and show them how to communicate a little bit better.
Right.
Maybe they were just sitting there telling them. Maybe that person needs to be shown. Some people are visual learners and not just, you can't just listen to the directions.
Right. Sometimes you have to actually let somebody do it. They have to learn just by doing it.
Right. And you need to go over there and physically show them. And maybe you need to go a little bit slower. Like you got to figure out the other person and understand what it takes to get through to them. That is your responsibility as the person teaching. Because that, even if you may be just a more senior employee teaching somebody who's new, even in that point, your leader has trusted you to be a leader in that situation. Right. So then it is your responsibility to understand what it takes to get through to that person. You can't put that burden on them and just get frustrated that they're not understanding.
And it's not their fault that they're not understanding. It's your fault that you're not you have to learn how to read people well enough to say, you can tell when you're explaining something to somebody if they get it or not. I can tell right away. Do you understand what I'm explaining to you right now? Yeah. No, you don't.
Yeah, there's hesitation.
Tell me no, because I will gladly find another way to explain it to you. But yeah, you can, once you learn how to read that, you can shift that, learn how each person learns, and then cater it to their needs.
Exactly. And maybe you're not a team lead or somebody in that position to where your actual responsibility is to be a leader. But if you've been entrusted by your leader to train somebody or teach somebody, show somebody something, you accept that responsibility.
Well, and you're obviously experienced enough to be given that expectation, that role to say,
and if you're not comfortable with it, you need to communicate that back to your leader and say, hey, I'm not right for this. If you know you can't do it, then hey, take yourself out. You need to know your own limitations also. And if you don't want that responsibility, then don't take it. But going into that situation, you have to understand that you bear that burden of figuring out the other person. It's not on them to understand you. You need to understand that.
Right. And you're failing as a leader if you cannot explain to your team how to do something, or anybody that you're teaching. That's your failure, not theirs, if they can't do the job right.
Right. So that's the issue I've seen most of the time. It's when somebody is trying to show somebody else how to do something, and there's just a
miscommunication and frustration because they
and
don't understand.
Boils from there. So you have to listen to both their stories, and then from there you can try to bridge that gap, pull them back together, and then, hey, this is what I'm understanding the problem to be. I think this is what we need to do. And that's how you would handle
Right.
any other type of altercation, whatever it might be. Maybe it's not how to do something. Maybe it's they said this, they said that.
Something
You
more
need to figure
personal.
out what happened. In those situations, unless somebody else overheard it, you're not going to ever know what the actual truth was unless somebody tells you the truth. And most times that's not going to happen. So then you just have to explain that, look, you're saying they said this. He's saying they're not. I don't know what the actual truth was. I just want right here, right now, we're going to agree that this situation does not happen again. If I hear about it again, I'm going to take it as truth, and we're going to have to deal with it accordingly. So please, right here, right now, let's agree that this is the end of it, and we'll move on. But it's important to make sure you get them to agree on whatever solution you've come up with. And then maybe there isn't a solution. You just have to look, like I just said, you might not be able to get to the bottom of something with only two people. It's one person's word against one person's word.
Well, and sometimes it could just be a fluke where somebody's having a bad day and make the wrong comment to the wrong person who else.
So and so goes to the bathrooms too many times. Like, and those are just simple conversations. Like, hey, got to be better. Like, watch it yourself for a little bit, see if you can observe the behavior, and then deal with it accordingly.
Right.
So there's depending on the type of issue you have, there's multiple ways to deal with it. Sit them down, figure out what the issue is, understand the issue, and find a way to fix it. You may have to take them apart and hear their stories separately.
Right.
That way they're not just sitting at a table
Screaming
arguing
at each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not, because you don't want that. So listen to their stories separately, then bring them together and tell them what you see as the issue. That way there is no discussion about it. Hey, I listened to both of you. This is what I'm seeing. You can ask them, hey, if this is our issue, what do you think we can do to correct it? If you can get them to respond, that is going to be the most effective way to fix it because they came up with it. Now they're owning it. They're going to want to make it work because it was their idea.
Right.
So if you can push to get them to give input, you're going to be further ahead.
Yeah, and as long as chances are they can give input and the other one might agree on it.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's exactly what we need. This is what I want from you too.
And then if you get them to agree on it,
we're done.
Exactly.
Problem solved.
Exactly.
Now we can walk away.
But you have to have those
friends.
conversations and understand what is going on. Maybe separately, maybe together. Again, you have to assess the situation and see what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a behavioral thing, try to observe it so you can handle it accordingly. If it's, I don't know what other kind of situations you run into between two people. It's typically it. Somebody's not working fast enough. Somebody goes to the bathroom too much. So-and-so doesn't know how to do something. So-and-so's not listening. Then it might just be watching them. Go up and talk to them. Have conversations with them. See if they're listening to you.
Right.
Or if they're dazed off and not paying attention. You can assess a lot of those behavior issues yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you have a complaint, just go observe. It's your job, after all, is to watch, supervise. Mm-hmm. It's my take on two people. Anything else we missed on that? Any other situations that two people would run into? Two team members at work? A lot of that could probably be applied to kids at home, too.
To be applied to everything at home.
This clip is from episode 8, From Rage to Reason, Learning the Art of Anger Management. Here we talk about how to control your anger and give some different tactics or tips to help you deal with anger or strong emotions. We break down the benefits to controlling your emotions, how it can backfire, and when it may just be of some benefit to use that emotion. Without further ado, what are some of the ways you have began to manage your anger?
Biggest part, just like anything else, recognizing the problem. You have to recognize that it's a problem. If you don't think you get angry all that often, I mean, you everybody's aware that they get frustrated, they get angry, they have outbursts, whatever, little ones, but you don't realize how much that actually impacts those around you and how they view you. Because if people view you as an angry person because you always have, even if it's constant little outbursts, that just kind of that reflects on your image, and it might be something that you're not aware of unless somebody brings to your attention, or or you recognize it because it's caused problems, or yeah, been brought to your attention somehow. You have to recognize that you have a problem with anger or getting angry. And then you have to start to, I guess, recognize when you start feeling those signs of anger.
There's a word. Do you know what the word I'm thinking of is? Mindful.
Yeah, be mindful of your emotions and how you're feeling, and when you recognize that you're getting angry or you're starting to get worked up about a situation, try to take a step back from the situation and figure out what it is that, I hate using the word, but triggered that. Whatever your trigger of anger was, it could be something
As
small,
long as you
like
don't use it in the context of I'm triggered, I don't mind the word.
yeah. But everybody has things that trigger certain emotions.
Right.
You have things that trigger you to cry or be happy or whatever, but we all have triggers for our anger. And whether somebody cuts you off, my big one is traffic. I get angry in traffic really fucking easily. No turn signals are cutting me off. I'm real quick
Pulling
to
out
anger
in front
with
of
that.
you and there's nobody behind you.
Yes. God.
Not getting over onto the shoulder when there's a turning lane on the shoulder.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I hate driving for that reason. But just becoming aware of that, knowing that nobody's trying to do it to be an asshole to you. Separate yourself and the emotions between, or the intent of what other people are trying to do from how you are reacting to the situation.
I heard on the driving note on the radio the other day, driving into work, they mentioned when somebody does something stupid and they're driving, they just say, "Oh, that person's having a bad day." I was like, "Oh, that's kind of a good way to quick think about it, to just brush off that little burst of anger you have for them doing whatever. Just quick think of what a bad day that person must be having in order to be in that big of a hurry to do whatever dumbass maneuver that just was. God, they must be having a bad day. That's got to be worse than mine. And feel better about your day."
Yeah, and seeing there's some situations where I can just look at what they did, like, oh yeah, I've done that before. Or, yep, I probably would have done the same thing. But there's other situations that's really hard. Why the hell did you you're
Right.
an idiot. Pay attention, you're going to get somebody killed. But just, yeah, realize what triggered that anger, what started to trigger those feelings, those emotions in you, and analyze what it was internally with you, that why it bothers you, or you just have too many other things going on, stress built up, that it's just something pushing you over the edge of you're going to have an outburst. Be willing to take a step away from a situation if you can, or just remind yourself to take a deep breath and breathe through the situation to calm yourself down. If I got to walk outside, if I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm getting angry or worked up about something, I'll take 2 minutes to step outside and just get a breath of fresh air.
That's one I've been trying to work on the last week or so, is taking a step literally back and walking away from the situation. And
you're not serving anybody
right
by getting angry and raising your voice and having an outburst.
Yeah, figuring out a quick way to get out of the situation so I can go take a second to step away, calm myself, collect my thoughts, and then go back with a clear head.
even if you have to suggest that, like, hey, I need a couple minutes. I'm getting worked up a little bit. I think it's best that I step away for a couple minutes and I'll come back when I calm down. And nobody's willing to do that.
Right.
Not many people
Yeah,
are
that one's
willing
tough.
to.
That one's tough.
That's a hard one to do, but
That's
that it takes
yeah. I don't know if that. I guess that would be ego
it
stepping in.
takes a strong person to be willing to say, "Look, I need to step away from this."
Right.
Because it's way too easy to get just in a screaming match or just trying to one up somebody that's you're in an argument with. It's easy to do. But those are some of the tools that I've used. Yeah, recognize that there's a problem, recognize that you do have an issue with anger, recognize what triggers your anger, and then either breathe or talk yourself through it or take a step back, take a walk away from it and just cool yourself down. Come at it with a clear mind, with a different perspective, and pretty much at that point, you're just going back through what we covered in conflict resolution. Then it's understanding and working through that. But most of the time, something triggered your anger and you just kind of calm yourself down. You are in control of your emotions.
So yes, you've mentioned mindfulness or being mindful of your emotions, your anger, and when that starts to be when you start to be triggered. Do you have any ways that you try to cultivate that mindset? For instance, since the start of the year, I've started meditating. I have found that to be extremely helpful to not only show myself that I am in control, but also help remind me that I do need to take that breath and take that second to stop. Okay, I'm getting upset. So meditation has helped me become, first of all, realize that I am in control of my thoughts, because you kind of, in every day, the hustle and bustle of your life, you almost forget about that, and life just starts to pass you by. We've all heard that said. If you don't take a second to, here's another cliche, stop and smell the roses, exactly, life just passes you by. And it's absolutely true. So meditation made me start to realize that, hey, I can stop for a second and take in my surroundings and enjoy the world for exactly what it is.
And that's helped you be more mindful of your emotions and
in turn, with that, yes, now I realized I'm in control of my brain, my thoughts. That has helped me realize, oh, I'm starting to have these emotions. I can control that. I can take my step back and deal with the situation. So meditation has helped me cultivate that mindset of mindfulness.
I think for so long I denied having emotions that I just didn't want to see it until I went through divorce and everything, started reading books, and then started, I guess, reading and learning about emotions and how to feel certain things and how to process certain emotions and everything like that. And kind of just became more aware of the fact that I have control over that instead of just accepting the idea of this is just the way that I am, which is how that was my excuse, my explanation of why I was an angry person for so long, why I'd have outbursts all the time. So it's just how I am. I don't know how to change it. It just is what it is.
Right.
Once I realized that, hey, dumbass, you're in charge, you can change it, you can make the decision, and you can be whoever you need to be, that's when I started taking a step back and, oh, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is why you're feeling it. And I've just 3 years worth of working on myself.
Jumping back to the first episode, for anybody listening who hasn't listened to that episode, make sure to go back and check it out. It's pretty interesting in-depth look into our lives. But in that first episode, you talked about where you kind of started on this journey was kind of with that Jordan Peterson video. So was this around that same time then?
Yeah, probably about that time. Yeah, I was listening to YouTube clips or TED Talks and just conversations, and yeah, realizing people can relate to a lot of situations and things that you've been through, and kind of just realizing that everybody's in this shit show of a world and figuring it out, and that we're in charge of controlling our own situation, the bubble you're in. It's your circus. You can do what you want with the world, with your life, with whatever you need to do. You get to make the changes. And yeah. Yeah, I'd say it was about that time.
Okay. Another way I have tried to control myself has been through journaling. That's kind of served two purposes for me.
Control yourself or become more aware of your
Both.
emotions. Okay.
Both. Because it gives me a healthy outlet for the anger. I can write whatever the fuck I want on this piece of paper, in my journal, whatever. I can burn it, throw it away. Nobody's ever going to see it. Those words are not going to hurt anybody. But if those words leave my mouth, they will do damage.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it gives me an outlet, a healthy outlet for that anger. While at the same time, because I'll literally just sit down and give myself 5-10 minutes, whatever, to just write. And I just put pen to paper and start writing. It doesn't matter what it is. It could just be gibberish. You try to write in the mornings. I haven't in a while, but I also used it to help calm my mind. I find it's very difficult to shut my brain off.
So when you're able to write out your thoughts and everything, it kind of puts a period at the end of your day.
Kind of. For a little while, I was having a problem where I almost woke up in a panic. And it took me a couple weeks to recognize that. And it was at that point that I started writing, because I woke up with just this agenda. There were a million things already going through my head that I needed to get done. I needed to look at, listen to, read, get done, taken care of, whatever it might be.
Welcome to ADHD.
At 6:30 in the morning. Like, I would pop out of bed before my alarm would go off with all of this crap. And so it took me a little while to recognize that and then get myself set on the habit of writing, because that's a tough habit to do if you're not used to it. But that helped. I'd get up in the morning, go down I'd actually meditate first, and then I'd go down and journal. And that, after about 3 weeks or a month, I no longer woke up in that panic anymore. Like I said, it's been a little while since I've journaled. I kind of haven't made the time for it and kind of felt I haven't needed it, but I also know that's probably not the absolute truth. It's probably a tool I should be utilizing more often, but yeah. So I do journal, and like I said, that has helped me become more aware and given me an outlet. So that's another tip or technique.
How have you seen anger used by you or others in the workplace or at home affect
Before
those
we
around
get
you?
to that, can we put a pin in these? Because I got one more.
Yeah.
One more technique or tip for dealing with anger. So hold on to that question, and we'll come back to it. One more thing that I kind of forget about, and I kind of forget about it, and then part of the time I also just do it instinctually now. But I had taken a leadership course a few years back through one of my employers, and it was on, I think, anger and conflict and stuff like that in the workplace. And the speaker had given a technique to use when you do get angry or you start to get excited with your arms. So it's, you take your arms and you just cross them behind your back like this. And what that does, in her words, it opens up your heart.
It's not a defensive posture either.
Right. And it's not an attacking. It's not an attacking posture.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, yeah, that this motion, it relaxes you and it opens up your heart. So it makes your body more receptive to love, and it calms you down. And it's, I've used it quite often.
I've seen a lot of people in the Marine Corps stand with their arms behind their back. And it's usually not a good thing.
But that's another technique you can use to help calm yourself down in a situation. If you're standing there, just cross your arms behind your back. Nobody will even notice, but it can help. It works for me.
Nobody will notice, but people will notice because everybody senses body language, whether you understand how to read it or not. It changes the feel, the vibe of the conversation.
Right. But it's just a little motion you can do. Won't be picked up by many, but
it's interesting.
It'll help settle you down. It works for me, so try it. See if it'll work for you.
It's very interesting. Let's give that a shot.
The last clip is from episode 9, Meeting Mastery. Elevate your leadership with efficient meetings, and was shared with us by Les Sutton on Facebook. Shout out, Les. Thank you for supporting us. We really, really do appreciate you. In this clip, we talk about how to deal with a situation where information changes after a meeting or other type of communication without proper further communication. We also share lessons learned from not handling situations so well in the past. Enjoy.
Have you ever had a leader or somebody in a meeting say one thing and then either partway through the meeting or after the meeting or before the meeting said something completely different that conflicted with what was said in the meeting? And how have you ever dealt with that? And if you have, how have you handled that, or how have you dealt with that? Would you call somebody if somebody made a comment one minute and then said something completely different? Would you say, "Hey, wait a minute. Earlier you said this. Let's go back to what we talked about. What exactly is the truth here? What's exactly the scope? What are we talking about? Because you just said this, and now we're saying this completely different thing when we just agreed on this in the meeting. Now everybody's in agreement, and now it's completely different 10 minutes later, half an hour later, a week later. Nothing, no conversations changed, just their opinions changed.
Yeah, you're going to have to understand why it changed. Maybe they have information you don't. So that's where you've got to figure out do you handle that right? Then depending on are you in a meeting right now and it just changed? Do you need to address it right then and there, or is it something you can let go for a minute so you can take it offline and confront
give it
them
time
about
and
it?
see how it plays out sometimes too?
What's going on here? Like, I'm not sure. You said this yesterday, and now today you're saying this. Did you know something I don't?
What exactly are we doing?
Right. Yeah, nothing wrong with asking that. But just figure out if it's okay to do it in that moment, or if you need to wait.
Yep.
Just like anything. Don't overreact.
Yeah, you can't. You have to stay calm.
It's difficult.
Approach every situation
tactfully.
Yeah,
don't let your emotions
get
in the way, and make sure you're handling it in the proper way. But yeah, I can't think of any specific examples. I know I've given a few in the past where they've changed anything, but yeah, I've called things out, done it not so well. Other times I have handled it well. All part of my learning and growing. You can't interrupt a meeting yelling and screaming at a superior because you're upset with something that just changed or happened or whatever. They don't like that very much.
No.
You end up getting talked to.
Sounds like insubordination.
Kind of. Yeah. It's not. It's just
disrespect.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. They can't be having that. And I get that. Understood. You're right. But you need to understand my point, and this is why I react the way I do. Usually it's
because you're unstable.
I'm usually the one that doesn't have the problem speaking up. So that burden always falls on my shoulders because yes, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to do the best job I know how, no matter what. But I'm also part stupid.
Yep. Do you find people, even when you're not in a leadership position, people rely on you to speak up for them because of that?
Oh, yeah. I'm the one that doesn't care.
Like people will come to you and talk to you about shit to have you take care of it because they know you're just going to handle it.
Yeah. And I've had to learn to not allow that to happen. I've had to learn how to not jump to help everybody all the time, which is hard because I like helping. But I also get taken advantage of very easily because I like to help. Sometimes so I have to be more selective with the situations I help with. It's gotten me into trouble quite a few times. Financially, all kinds of stuff. Giving away money to people thinking I'm going to get it back and don't. Part of life.
Yep.
Not upset with anybody for not paying back money they owe.
Right. Live and learn.
Does it suck? Yeah, of course. But
it's a lesson you needed to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Unfortunately.
Sometimes we all do.
Yeah, it is okay to request that something be talked about offline or not right at that moment. That includes anybody. Even if you notice something, like you mentioned, with somebody talking about or saying two different things, it's okay to mention, hey, I might need to talk to you about that. Right there in that moment. That way they're aware. If they want to continue prying, they can, but you can at least let them know that, hey, something isn't right there.
Right.
That way they're not thinking everything went great and not expecting anything from you and you blindside them. Maybe they can, all right, let's quick step outside for a second.
Yeah.
So we can figure this out. Hopefully, if they recognize what's going on, maybe. But yeah. Meetings, biggest thing. Have an agenda.
Short, sweet.
Keep on track. Have that goal in mind. Whether you're calling meetings or part of a meeting, know what the goal is and do what you can to keep it there tactfully. To keep it on track. Meetings are difficult, but easy.
Necessary.
Much like anything.
I mean, I agree that some of them are absolutely necessary, but just from my observance.
Yeah, if you are prepared for your meeting, maybe you do realize that, I can handle this with an email. Oh, I only need one person. Shit, I can go talk to them.
Yep.
Well, if you really look at it and go, okay, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? Oh, I just need to talk to my process engineer. Or, I just need to go talk to HR. You don't need to have 40 other people involved.
Right.
To not get anywhere.
Just have a quick conversation.
Right.
Don't waste everybody's time.
Be prepared. Know what you're trying to accomplish. That's the biggest problem. Thank you again for listening. We truly do appreciate all of you. We love sharing our stories and learning together with you. Thank you for giving us a platform to talk about something we love. If you don't already, please follow us on social media at Just Two Brothers on Twitter, Just Two Brothers on Facebook and Instagram. We would love to hear one of your favorite quotes from past episodes. Thank you again, and we will see you all next time.